Howdy folks, Anthony Bourdain here, and let me tell you, I've traveled to some of the most incredible places on Earth. But there's something special about Kyoto, Japan. This ain't your typical bustling Asian metropolis. It's a city that's like stepping back in time where ancient traditions still hold strong. Imagine this, mist rolling over centuries-old rooftops, the sun rising over a skyline punctuated by graceful pagoda towers. You can almost hear the whispers of geishas hurrying through narrow alleyways, their silk kimonos rustling like autumn leaves. Kyoto's beauty is more than skin deep. This place has soul. For over 1,000 years it was the imperial capital of Japan, and that history is baked into every brick and stone. You can practically feel the weight of the past as you wander through grand temples and serene gardens. Now I know what you might be thinking, temples and tea ceremonies sounds a little tame. But hold your horses folks, Kyoto's got a wild side too. We're talking about vibrant night markets with street food that'll make your taste buds sing. Think steaming bowls of ramen, crispy takoyaki, and skewers of yakitori sizzling over charcoal. And don't even get me started on the sake. Kyoto is home to some of the best sake breweries in the world. We're talking small batch handcrafted brews with complex flavors that'll knock your socks off. But here's the real kicker. Kyoto ain't stuck in the past. This city's got a knack for blending the old and the new like nowhere else I've seen. Think sleek, modern architecture sitting side by side with traditional wooden machiya houses. You might stumble across a cutting-edge art gallery tucked away down a quiet alley, or a Michelin-starred restaurant serving up avant-garde cuisine in a renovated tea house. Kyoto is a city of contrasts, a place where you can experience the tranquility of ancient rituals one minute and the buzz of modern life the next. It's a place that'll challenge your perceptions, ignite your senses, and leave you wanting more. Now let's talk history, folks. Kyoto wasn't always just a pretty face. For over a millennium this city was the beating heart of Japan. Emperors ruled from its palaces, their every whim recorded in elegant calligraphy. Imagine powerful shoguns plotting strategy in shadowy gardens, while artisans crafted exquisite works of art for the imperial court. We're talking about a legacy that seeps from the very stones of the city. Wander through the imposing gates of the Kyoto Imperial Palace, and you can practically hear the echoes of emperors past. These grounds have witnessed coronations, intrigues, and the ebb and flow of power over centuries. It's enough to make your head spin, and believe me, I've had my fair share of spins in my time. Section 2. Whispers of shoguns and samurai, walking through history. But it ain't all emperors and palaces, folks. Kyoto's history is also a tale of samurai and shoguns, of fierce battles and shifting alliances. Walk down a quiet street in the Gion district, and you might just be tracing the footsteps of legendary warriors. One place you gotta check out is Nijo Castle. This 17th century fortress was built by the mighty Tokugawa shogunate. The architecture is a marvel, with hidden rooms and squeaky nightingale floors designed to foil any sneaky ninjas. And believe me, nothing ruins a good night's sleep like a ninja attack. Section 3. Beyond the Golden Pavilion, discovering Kyoto's hidden imperial gems. Now I know what you're thinking. Kyoto's history sounds fascinating, Tony, but where do I even begin? Don't you worry, I got you covered. Beyond the famous Golden Pavilion and Kiyomizu-dera Temple, Kyoto is teeming with hidden historical gems just waiting to be discovered. Take a stroll through the serene gardens of the Katsura Imperial Villa. This place is a masterpiece of Japanese landscape design, with each carefully placed rock and pond telling a story. Or if you're feeling adventurous, head to the Fushimi Inari Shrine. Get ready to be wowed by a seemingly endless path of thousands of vibrant red torii gates winding their way up a wooded mountainside. Section 1. Finding Zen among the moss and stone. Kyoto's spiritual gardens. Now let's talk about peace, folks. Not the kind you find at the bottom of a whiskey bottle. Although Kyoto's got plenty of that too if you know where to look. But I'm talking about the kind of peace that seeps into your bones when you step into one of Kyoto's serene gardens. These ain't your grandma's flower beds, folks. We're talking about living works of art, meticulously designed to inspire contemplation and a sense of harmony with nature. Take Ryoanji Temple's rock garden, for instance. 15 rocks arranged on a bed of raked gravel. That's it. No flowers, no fountains, just pure minimalist beauty. You could stare at those rocks for hours, and your mind would still never quite grasp their mystery. It's enough to make you want to meditate, or at least take a long, hard nap. More than just pretty pictures. The soul of Kyoto's shrines and temples. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. Temples? Shrines? Sounds a little too religious for me, Tony. But trust me on this one. Kyoto's temples and shrines are more than just places of worship. They're like time capsules, preserving centuries of art, architecture, and spiritual tradition. Walk through the towering gates of Kiyomizudera Temple, perched on a hillside overlooking the city. You'll be greeted by the scent of incense, the sound of chanting monks, and a view that'll take your breath away. Or, head to the Golden Pavilion Kinkaku-ji, and witness its shimmering reflection in the still waters of its surrounding pond. It's like something out of a dream, folks, and you don't even need a reservation. A thousand torii and a bowl of noodles embracing the sacred and the savory. And the best part? You can find delicious food practically everywhere in Kyoto, even near the most sacred sites. After you've wandered through the thousands of vermilion torii gates at Fushimi Inari Shrine, stop by a nearby stall for a steaming bowl of kitsune udon. These thick, chewy noodles in a savory broth are said to be a favorite of the Inari foxes, so you know they gotta be good. Kyoto's all about finding balance, folks. The sacred and the savory, the ancient and the modern. It's a city that feeds the soul and the stomach in equal measure, and believe me, that's a beautiful thing. Beyond the kimono unveiling the soul of Kyoto's geisha district. Now let's talk about geishas, folks. No trip to Kyoto is complete without a stroll through the enchanting Gion district, the heart and soul of geisha culture. But hold on, before you go conjuring up images of, well, you know what? Let's set the record straight. Geishas are highly skilled artists, masters of traditional music, dance, and conversation. They're like living, breathing embodiments of Japanese elegance and refinement. Walking through Gion is like stepping back in time. Wooden tea houses with glowing paper lanterns line the narrow streets, and if you're lucky, you might catch a glimpse of a geisha hurrying to an appointment, her silk kimono rustling like whispered secrets. These women are the guardians of tradition, keeping alive centuries-old customs in a world that's constantly changing. It's a rare and beautiful thing, folks, and trust me, I've seen my fair share of beauty in my time. Now let's talk about the good stuff. Food. Kyoto's not just a feast for the eyes, folks, it's a culinary paradise. This city takes its food seriously. Like, really seriously. We're talking about generations-old recipes, the freshest seasonal ingredients, and an almost religious dedication to presentation. Eating in Kyoto isn't just a meal, it's an experience, a symphony of flavors that'll blow your mind. You could spend weeks exploring Kyoto's culinary scene and still only scratch the surface. Start with a traditional kaiseki meal, a multi-course extravaganza that's like a work of art on a plate, or head to Nishiki Market, Kyoto's bustling kitchen, where you can sample everything from pickled vegetables to fresh seafood to mochi chewy rice cakes that are a Japanese delicacy. And don't even get me started on the matcha. Kyoto is matcha central, with tea houses serving up this frothy green elixir in every conceivable form. Now let's talk about fun, folks. Kyoto might be steeped in history and tradition, but that doesn't mean it's all quiet contemplation and serene gardens. This city knows how to party, and when it does it in style. We're talking about festivals that'll knock your socks off, with processions, performances, and enough food to feed a small army. One of the biggest and best is the Gion Matsuri, held every July. We're talking about massive, elaborately decorated floats paraded through the streets, traditional music and dance performances, and a whole lot of sake flowing. It's a spectacle unlike anything you've ever seen, folks, a riot of color, sound, and pure, unadulterated joy. And if you're lucky enough to be in Kyoto during cherry blossom season, well, let's just say it's a magical time. The city transforms into a wonderland of pink and white, with picnics under the blossoms, boat rides on blossom-strewn canals, and a general atmosphere of celebration and romance. Now some folks might think Kyoto's all about looking back at the good old days, but let me tell you, this town's got one foot planted firmly in the future. Kyoto's like that cool grandpa who still knows how to cut a rug. They respect the classics, but they ain't afraid to try something new. Take a walk around town, and you'll see what I mean. You might stumble upon a centuries-old tea house that's been transformed into a hip coffee shop, where baristas whip up matcha lattes with the precision of a samurai wielding a sword. Or you might find yourself gawking at a brand spanking new museum with architecture so wild, it looks like it was beamed down from outer space, right next door to a peaceful Zen garden. Section 2. Zen and the Art of Sustainable Living. Kyoto's Green Revolution. And speaking of Zen gardens, Kyoto's commitment to harmony with nature ain't just some ancient philosophy. It's a way of life, even in the 21st century. This city's leading the charge when it comes to sustainable living, proving that you don't have to sacrifice progress for a greener planet. Kyoto's streets are filled with cyclists zipping past in a blur of motion, and the city's public transportation system is so efficient, you'll want to ditch your car faster than a plate of cold tempura. And don't even get me started on the food. Kyoto's chefs are obsessed with using fresh, local, seasonal ingredients, so you know you're getting the good stuff. Food that's good for you and good for the planet. Section 3. Kyoto After Dark, where the sake flows and the night owls hoot. Now once the sun sets and the lanterns start glowing, Kyoto takes on a whole new energy. The crowds thin out a bit, the air cools down, and the city's nightlife scene comes alive. Don't let those quiet streets fool you, folks. Kyoto knows how to have a good time. Head down to the Pontocho Alley, a narrow, lantern-lit lane packed with tiny bars and restaurants. This is where you go to rub elbows with locals, sample some of the finest sake in Japan, and maybe even belt out a karaoke tune or two. And if you're feeling adventurous, check out one of Kyoto's jazz clubs. This city has a surprisingly vibrant jazz scene, with smoky, intimate clubs where you can catch some of the best musicians in the world. So there you have it, folks. Kyoto ain't just a city, it's an experience that'll stay with you long after you've packed up your suitcase and said sayonara. It's a place where history comes alive, where spirituality and nature intertwine, and where tradition dances hand in hand with innovation. Think about it. You can spend a morning wandering through ancient temples, their wooden beams groaning with the weight of centuries, and then find yourself sipping a perfectly crafted cocktail in a sleek modern bar a few hours later. That's Kyoto for you, a city of delightful contradictions, a place where every sense is engaged, every corner turned reveals a new surprise. Now I know what you might be thinking, Tony, this all sounds great, but won't I be fighting hordes of tourists for a glimpse of the Golden Pavilion? And yeah, Kyoto can get busy, especially during peak season, but trust me, the real magic of this city lies beyond the guidebook highlights. Get lost in the maze of narrow backstreets where you'll find hidden tea houses, tiny shrines tucked away in unexpected corners, and the reassuring rhythm of everyday life unfolding at its own pace. Chat with the locals, even if it's just with a few words of broken Japanese and a whole lot of hand gestures. You'll find that Kyoto's heart beats strongest in these quiet moments, in the warmth of human connection that transcends language barriers. So what are you waiting for? Kyoto's calling, and it's got a seat saved just for you. Whether you're a seasoned traveler or a curious first-timer, pack your bags, grab your chopsticks, and get ready for an adventure that'll tantalize your taste buds, expand your mind, and leave you with a newfound appreciation for the beauty of balance. Kyoto's a place that'll challenge your perceptions, ignite your senses, and leave you wanting more. It's a city that gets under your skin, into your soul, and stays with you long after you've said goodbye. Trust me on this one, folks. Kyoto's an experience you don't want to miss. So, what are you waiting for, folks? Kyoto ain't gonna explore itself. Book that ticket, pack your bags, and maybe an extra pair of pants for all the delicious food you're gonna eat, and get ready to experience a city that's unlike anywhere else on Earth. Trust me, Kyoto's got something for everyone. History buffs, foodies, nature lovers, spirituality seekers, this city's got your number. It's a place where you can wander for hours, discovering hidden gems around every corner, and still feel like you've only scratched the surface. So go on, get out of here. Your Kyoto adventure awaits. And tell 'em Tony sent ya.